Hey, how's it going? I'm IlaGolden and welcome to Ila Reads. I didn't know young men these days like to be so honest. Liz's eyes went large as if to emphasize the word. Rehearsals were over, and since Nia had the kids for the evening, Liz had invited Echo around for dinner. It felt like the perfect opportunity to talk to her about her possible stalker. I didn't either. She half shifted her gaze away. It is nice though, but darling, you know I hate butts, so this had better be good. Well, this isn't the first time I've encountered a Gera web like that, and there's something so unique about it, it's almost impossible to believe two separate people were behind it. I think I might have a stalker. Oh, darling, there's no need to be quite so dramatic about it, Lilith laughed. I'm sure it's just a coincidence or something. That doesn't explain why the real person didn't step forward when you were lavishing your praises on Zanny. They were probably just embarrassed, darling. Maybe they knew you would recognise the web and didn't want you to think they'd been following you. Although by the sounds of it, you're thinking that way anyway. So you really think I have nothing to worry about? The direction the conversation had taken made Echo hold back her suspicions about Twigs and the distortion she'd seen. Of course not, darling, she almost chided. But I know you. You'll probably still worry about it anyway. So why don't we distract that busy brain of yours, The sooner we do, the sooner you'll forget all about this nonsense. Sure, Echo forced a smile. I'm sure you're right. Of course you are, darling, because I am right. The rest of her evening with Lilith felt like a whirlwind. By the time she got home, Nia was sat in the kitchen waiting for her. There was a serious look on his face which instantly made Echo check the time. It was barely 8 o'clock. I was having dinner at Lilith's. She did her best to act natural. Have you been here long? Only about 10 minutes or so. His voice was calm. I dropped the kids back early because I wanted to talk to you about something. Oh? Miss Fairchild called me in to see her today. Oh. This time the word was a little more deadpan. Apparently she's concerned because since gone from background drawing to foreground drawing to actually talking to Tree Man. I know we said we'd wait to get him tested, he sighed. But Cleo wanted us to talk about it anyway. Why? Because she thinks Miss Fairchild has a point about Synth being socially isolated and is worried it has something to do with, you know, us. Why would it have anything to do with us? Echo couldn't help but feel insulted. We've always done our best to make sure his home life's as happy and settled as possible. I know, but that doesn't mean the unusualness of it hasn't affected him. In fact, it might even be because we've made him feel so safe and secure at home that he doesn't feel the need to reach out to anyone else. Even if a child with Icarus wings doesn't have any noticeable differences, they can still find socializing difficult if they're not encouraged in the correct way. Which is why we'll be taking him to the art clubs, Echo shrugged. To encourage him. Miss Fairchild hasn't even given her plan a chance to start yet, she rolled her eyes. That woman expects miracles overnight. Don't worry, I pretty much said the same thing to her myself. But it does make me wish Inkboy Primary wasn't the best school in our jurisdiction. Moving schools would just unsettle him and push him further into himself. She shook her head. And it's not like we have to put up with Miss Fairchild forever. I know. But what if the other teachers are just as bad? Picker had grown out of her imaginary friend before she'd finished her first year. And Synth might too, she pointed out. The year's not over yet, and these clubs might make a real difference. I know, and I would definitely like him to make friends, but... But? She shot him a look. I don't want him to lose his imaginary friend completely. Not yet, anyway. I feel like it's his creativity talking, and I just want... You want him to be just as creative as you and your brother, Echo cut him off. I have to admit, I do feel the same way about it myself. I know eventually he will have to let go of his imaginary friend, Nia tilted his head thoughtfully. But I want it to be when he's ready to let go, which is why I have no intentions of pressuring him into making friends at these clubs. Echo folded her arms. Obviously I hope he does, but if he doesn't, then I'm not going to worry too much. Synth should be allowed to come to things at his own pace, and that includes how and when we have him tested. And I agree with you. A smile of relief washed across his face. I'm glad you feel that way. Between Cleo and Miss Fairchild, I was beginning to think I was alone in this. Well, he is our son, so our opinion counts most, right? She placed a hand on his arm. But that doesn't mean our opinions are the right one. He half pulled away from her. I just wish there was some way of knowing how he'll turn out, you know? Well, maybe you could talk to your parents about it. She pressed her lips together. Your brother still was just as introverted when he was little, so who better to guide us than them? That's true, and I haven't been to see them since I moved out of this place. He glanced around for a moment. Maybe I could make a day of it. Take Cleo and the kids. I guess you could do that this weekend after their first sleepover. Echo averted her gaze. That sounds like a great idea to me. I'll give them a call when I get home. He got up and began getting his things together. I'm really glad we had the chance to talk about all this, Echo. We always made a great team. It's just a shame we couldn't make it work as a couple, and maybe our opinions wouldn't be met with so much judgment. You can't be sure about that, he shook his head. And I highly doubt Miss Fairchild would be any different if Synth came from a more conventional family unit. True, she laughed. And anyway, I really don't think we're doing too badly, do you? I mean, no matter what else our kids might or might not be, they are happy, right? That is how it appears, she nodded as she followed him up the corridor. And isn't their happiness really the most important thing? Now you just sound like your parents. She laughed again. Well, my parents were pretty great, he grinned back at her. After all 6 of us turned out pretty okay, didn't we? And you're saying my parents didn't do such a good job with me and Sonny? She jokingly accused. Well, they did a fantastic job with you, but the jury's still out on Sonny, he laughed. Okay, I'll give you that one. By this time, Echo was holding the front door open, talking to Nia as he stood outside. You'll let me know if you need me, for anything, right? I always do, don't I? For a moment, Echo felt like a piece of her heart was breaking. It happened a lot when the two of them talked like this, although she wasn't totally sure why. I know you do. He shot her a sad smile and nodded. See you soon, Echo. Catch you later, Nia. They were just walking through the first scene of the second act when a gangly young man, Echo could have recognised in silhouette, entered the hall. His well-maintained dusty blonde dreads reached all the way down his back and were bound together in 2 places with a soft black cord into a ponytail almost as thick as his waist. He was wearing an off-white flannel shirt belted at the middle with another black cord, along with baggy beige trousers and his trademark closed-toe sandals. The last item of clothing, his long waistcoat, hid from all those who weren't aware of their existence his small set of dragonfly-like wings. Unlike Synth's, they were perfectly formed. They were just stunted. "So, darling, I'm so glad you could make it." Lilith made her way down from the stage to greet him. He gave one of his nonchalant shrugs and glanced around the practice theatre. He was the youngest of the Mayfeather brood, and was only 6 months older than Sonata, but you wouldn't have known either fact just by looking at him. His face was always set into the same uninterested expression which made him appear both older than he was and unengaged with everyone and everything around him. But if that were true, Echo couldn't even begin to imagine how he was able to create such beautiful artwork. In fact, in her mind, his apparent emotional reserve was a conservation technique, which allowed him to express himself on paper like an artistic master. "Everyone, this is still Mayfeather." Liv half dragged him towards the stage. "He's going to be doing the artwork for our promotional posters. This is the 3rd time I've worked with him now, so I know his genius needs to see our genius in order to inspire him. So I want everyone on stage now. We'll run through the opening number again, since the only thing missing from it currently are the harnesses for the crew. We'll then get back to walking through the second act in hopes that something we do today will start the wheels of inspiration turning in his brilliant little mind. If not, he'll be with us for the next 2 weeks regardless, so get used to his presence." Echo knew exactly what Lilith was talking about when it came to Still's process. After all, she'd been the one to give him his first commission when he was 15. She'd done it as a favour to Nia, but the quality of his work had surpassed her expectations, making her glad she'd introduced him to Lilith, and she, in turn, introduced him to several other directors she knew. To date, he had yet to disappoint anyone, although some of them were a little less tolerant of his attitude than Lilith was. Echo found herself keeping half an eye on him as they ran through the opening number for what felt like the millionth time in 2 days. The half eye was then maintained as they restarted their walkthrough of the second act. "All right, walkthrough done. Finally." Lilith held her hands up an hour and a half later. "Now I want a closer run through of scenes 110, 215, and 212. Automatically, Echo flipped through her script. She wasn't in any of those scenes. She then checked her watch. "Hey Lilith, can I borrow Twiggs's taxi service?" She moved to the front of the stage. "Of course, darling." Lilith smiled up at her. "Will those 2 adorable children of yours be coming back here?" "No, there's a clubhouse near here I want to start them both at, and today feels like the right day for it." "Wonderful, darling. Take all the time you need." Synth wriggled excitedly in his seat the whole journey, and even Piccolo was clearly impressed by their ride. Then again, neither of them had spent much time in a car before. Echo had never learnt to drive, and Nia had never been interested in it. So walking everywhere had just become the norm for both of them. Still, the older Echo got, the more she began to wonder if maybe learning to drive would open up more opportunities to her and make her a little less reliant on others at times like this. I'll be back in a couple of hours. She pulled both of them into a hug. You two be good now. Whatever. Piccolo rolled her eyes as she quickly pulled away. And you'll show me the pretty pictures you did when I get back, right, little one? She kissed Synth's forehead before letting him go. Uh-huh, big one too, he gestured. Of course, she laughed. What else? The clubhouse was only 2 doors down from the theatre, so Echo had sent Twigs on ahead. There was no point in being driven a few hundred yards down the road when she could wheel that distance herself almost as quickly. Besides, Twigs always acted weirdly around her. At best, it made Echo feel uncomfortable. At worst, it made her feel like some purple-spotted experiment which had just escaped from a nearby lab. Still, Twigs was preferable to Kizzy, who at best was childish, and at worst downright bratty. Although, from the way she was clearly getting on Lilith's nerves, she probably wasn't going to last much longer anyway. It didn't take long to make the short distance from the clubhouse to the theatre. Once there, she made her way towards the practice theatre's audience entrance. With any luck, Lilith would still be running through scenes Echo wasn't needed for. If not, then she would just have to double time it round to the wings and get herself on stage. Echo, you're just in time! May pretty much pounced on her the second she entered. Lilith wants to start rehearsing all of the crew's major scenes in like 15 minutes. Great, she breathed a sigh of relief. That gives me plenty of time to get around to the wings. Even less if I push you, she grinned, before her eyes twisted in the direction of Still. Hey, what do you know about that guy? She used her head to indicate in his direction. I mean, I think I recognise his name from a lot of promotional artwork, but I really don't know anything about him. Not that I need to know anything about him. I mean, I do understand that certain people, especially artists, like their privacy and everything. It's just, well, he's pretty mysterious, isn't he? Not to me he isn't, she laughed. He's Nir's little brother. Nir? May shot her a curious look. My ex. She bristled with fire for a moment. You so totally have the best life ever. Is there anybody you're related to who isn't talented or famous or both? Technically, I'm not related to Still. She half rolled her eyes. Okay, I know. So he's like your ex-brother-in-law or something, but no, you don't understand. Echo cut her off. Nir and I were never married. But you have 2 beautiful children together. She looked confused. I know, but marriage was never really on the cards for us. She shifted uncomfortably. And even if it was, Alonso made it very clear it would never happen. But since things didn't exactly work out between us anyway, I guess never having been married was pretty much a good thing. Don't ever let my parents hear you say anything like that. Her whole being appeared to deflate for a moment. They're very traditional in their thinking. I mean, if a boy even looked like he might maybe want to kiss me, my parents were on at him about marriage and babies, and they would scare him off in a heartbeat. If they knew I had a friend who had kids out of wedlock, she looked genuinely upset for a moment. It's okay. We don't need to tell them, right? Right, of course not, she seemed doubtful. It's just, well, they always taught me to believe people who did things like that were bad people, but I know you and I know you're not a bad person at all. Actually, you're a really nice person who has this amazing life, and I so totally want to keep being friends with you, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't keep being friends, May. She cut her off. Like you said, I'm not a bad person, and I can pretend I was married if your parents ever ask. That's if I ever meet them. She gave a nervous laugh. Really, you would? May appeared to inflate a little again. Oh, thank you, Echo. You're the best person I've ever met. I'm not going to have to continually stop you from replacing me, am I? Zanny chose that moment to appear. Of course not, she grinned at him. Me and Echo were just talking about the fact that she and Nia were never married and what my parents would think if they ever found out, so she's agreed that she won't tell them if I won't tell them. Isn't that just amazing? That you're going to force another friend into lying to your ever so old-fashioned parents? He rolled his eyes. Yeah, that's just fantastic. Wait, Echo frowned. Does that mean you're lying to them about something too? Oh, they just think Zanny and I are a couple. May waved a dismissive hand like it was nothing. Why? Echo couldn't help but stare at both of them. Because we're so close and no one else seems to be in the picture as far as they're concerned, so they've just been pushing us together since we were like 11 or something, she shrugged. In the end, we decided it's just easier to lie about it. But won't they expect you to eventually get married and have kids and stuff? Echo cocked an eyebrow as she began making her way out of the seating area. Well, yeah, I mean, they totally already do, May followed. But every time I try telling them the truth, it's like they don't want to listen to us, or else they just flat out ignore it. I mean, Zanny even brought Andy with him to one of their wedding planning meetings once to try and force him to understand that he was gay and the two of us really just were friends, and they acted as though it never happened, even when it was happening. So we'd just given in. She gave another heavy sigh. In the end, once again, we decided it was easier to lie. They're just not going to listen to the truth. Ever. But what happens when they actually expect you to carry through with a wedding? We still haven't figured that bit out yet. Zenny shook his head. But if we hadn't agreed to lie in the first place, we wouldn't be in this mess now. I'm just glad Andy's the type who finds this kind of thing amusing right now. I don't think we'd still be together if he didn't. Well, at least the pressure to go from childhood friends to a couple didn't land you with 2 kids together, Echo tried to joke. You mean we're not the only ones with pushy parents? May's eyes lit up curiously. Try pushy everyone, she laughed. And trust me, that's a lot of pressure to ignore. Enjoyed what you've heard so far? Please consider subscribing to find out when the next part's being released. Thanks for watching. See ya!